Good morning, everyone. This is Michael. 2 years traveling today, and we'll be all day and this evening and tomorrow morning. So I will be taking up these broadcasts. Yes, they are broadcasts. I'll be taking them up and offering them. There's a Zoom meeting tomorrow morning on the identify as being. So I hope you'll be able to join me. Well, now, I'm going to do this differently, obviously, and just talk a little bit about the kingdoms of nature, or supernature, we might judge. There's some readings from DK which I think will be interesting to us, and we can put them in a context. I can't do it the same way that Tuya does. She has the PowerPoints which she has created and so forth, so I'll just, it'll be a short meditation. Of course, that's always dangerous to say, but let's proceed and see. There is a page 844 in a Treatise on Cosmic Fire, and it gives us an overview that the kingdoms of nature, the informing lives of a kingdom of nature, are not simply found on the earth. They are spread throughout the solar system. Of course, they will obviously take different forms, and especially etherically, because we're not sure yet whether the kinds of life that are found on the outermost layer of the Earth globe will be in any way replicated in the other planets. Of course, they do have a physical nature, but it's not convincing necessarily that all of them will have forms within that physical nature. Maybe some of the closer planets will, like Mars, and probably there will be discovered on the moon globe of our particular Earth scheme some remnants of an externalized example of forms. Now, these are very great beings. We look at the various kingdoms of nature, and we look at maybe the kingdom by itself, or the individual, let's say, animals or plants or minerals that are found within them, but underneath and pervading the entire kingdom are these great lives. And to give you a little bit of a sense of how great they are, you can see on this particular chart or tabulation that DK begins with very high beings that are taking cosmic initiations, and he seems to leave out the life of the chains, but he does descend. He does descend into the globes, and just under the globes come these informing lives of the kingdoms of nature, and it tells you where they go when they're completing their task, and that's very interesting. They either go to the line of the solar Treatise, the maybe very high ones, they go to Sirius to become karmic adjusters. Well, no human being is going to do that. The human being, as far as we know, that takes the Sirian path can become a solar angel and not one of the vaster kinds, such as the kingdom in the life of a kingdom in nature can become. Or they go to the solar system of the next order to work in connection with the planetary logos on of his own line as ruler of a kingdom or life wave in the system, and not just in a scheme. So there are many of these lords of a kingdom of nature, and they are differentiated on the various planets, but in the next solar system, or solar systems like it, they may become system-wide in their work with the solar logos of that system. Just to give you an idea that we are dealing with very great beings. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, in the book The Consciousness of the Atom, Alice Bailey deals with this. I'd like to give us something a little bit simple here, and something that will help us understand. Okay. So now I'm going to switch this, and for the moment, let's see if that works. Okay. This is Alice Bailey speaking in the Consciousness of the Atom, and it will be a familiar idea to those who have a somewhat of a hylo-zoistic understanding. Okay, so here we are. Yeah. She says that we have seen that the atom of chemistry, for instance, demonstrates the quality of intelligence. It shows symptoms of discriminative mind and the rudiments of selective capacity. You know, we see this in the chemical interactions or non-interactions. Thus, the tiny life within the atomic form is demonstrating psychic quality, a kind of selectivity, a kind of preference, a kind of magnetism or non-magnetism towards other such forms. The atom is then built into all the different forms at varying times and stages, and each time it gains somewhat according to the force and life of the entity who ensouls that form. We are like little atoms, aren't we? And we are gaining from the ones in whom we live and move and have our being. So these greater life forces, they preserve the homogeneity of the atom. So take, for instance, she says, the atom that goes to the building of a form in the mineral kingdom. It shows not only discriminative, selective mind, but elasticity. And then she goes through the kingdoms we see. Then the vegetable kingdom, these two qualities appear, but a third is also found, which we might call sensation of a rudimentary kind. We know that plants seek the sun and recoil from other influences as if they were experiencing sensation. The initial intelligence of the atom, she says, has acquired something during the transition from form to form and from kingdom to kingdom. And DK does hint at these demi-forms, which are transitional forms from one kingdom to another, being neither of the kingdom that they are parting from, nor yet of the kingdom to which they are, which they are joining, to which they are going to inhere, like a transition between mineral and vegetable, and then between vegetable and animal, and so we go. Its responsiveness to contact and its general awareness has increased. And then we come to the study of the evolution of consciousness. When we come there, we can take this up in greater detail. All I'm endeavoring to do right now, tonight, I guess she's giving a lecture here, is to show that the vegetable kingdom forms, built up of atoms, show not only discriminative intelligence and elasticity, but also are capable of sensation, or of that which in the vegetable kingdom corresponds to emotion or feeling, emotion being but a rudimentary love. And then, our topic here. Next we have the animal kingdom, in which the animal forms show not only all of the above qualities, but to them is added instinct, some kind of intelligent guidance from the lord of a kingdom, an intelligent guidance or prompting towards certain intelligent activities of which the various members of the kingdom are not aware. They don't know where it came from, and basically they don't have self-consciousness yet. But to them is added instinct, or that which will someday blossom into mentality, and we see it already happening even in this round. The great majority of the animal kingdom that will blossom into a condition of mentality will occur in the fifth round, but already it's happening with certain advanced types, and then finally to the human being who shows all these qualities in a far greater degree. For the fourth kingdom is the macrocosm for the lower three. And then she goes on and demonstrates. It's a good little book, and it may have things in it that we may have overlooked. Now, let's go to the kingdoms themselves and take a look at what they are. Probably you should, somehow have these in your mind. Here are the 7 kingdoms which are found throughout our solar system, just to put things in context, and then, found specifically and in specific forms on the, or within the schemes of the different planetary logoi. Now, this is just what Alice Bailey has been talking about. And notice that the rays are attached to these kingdoms. The curious thing is that the human monad can become or can express itself as any of these kingdoms. A kingdom, as far as the monad goes, is a stratified means of expression. And we might say monads express themselves, human monads, through other and lesser monads. So there is always a descent of the human monad through the lower kingdoms, including the human kingdom, which is different from the creative hierarchy we call the human creative hierarchy of initiates. And also it expresses through the kingdom of souls. And also, as in the case of the high masters, the human monad is expressing through planetary lives. I'm not sure whether we can say that about solar lives. But notice the rays, and notice the qualities that they are meant to demonstrate. The very first kingdom is in a way the seventh, and it works with the first ray and the seventh ray, and eventually it achieves radioactivity and is the great basic source of power. Then comes a kingdom which actually has three forms of expression, and for that reason, as Venus is to the other planetary logoi, so the vegetable kingdom is analogously to the other kingdoms in nature. It's the only one, and this tells us something about the beauty of its future, that is expressing through three rays. So, you know, it has the 2-4-6 line very strong, even though it's a fifth ray soul. So the idealistic devotion part is the upward tendency of plants, and the beauty or harmony part is the uniformity of color, or the blending of color, the attractiveness of color. And then we come to the perfume, the magnetism, which is a demonstration of the love-wisdom ray. So, you know, let's just say that we have a lot to learn from the vegetable kingdom, and man is sometimes considered to be the sevenfold plant, the sapta parna. And let's just say that on our planet, Venus is the great ideal towards which we strive. Our planetary logos strive to become as Venus is, just the way the personality, which is in a way the extended monad, strives to become as the solar angel is. And then we get into the interesting rays of the animal kingdom. And it's, well, we don't necessarily find devotion in all of them. In the more domesticated animals and those that are closer in intelligence to the human kingdom, we may find devotion. Now, you know, we have all of these classifications of the animal kingdom, all of these, I guess they're called phyla, you know, and different, and the singular is phylum. And it's not until we get into those with a backbone, and not even all of those, but those that are closer to the human being, that the quality of devotion, well, think about Mars, you know. Mars is a planet which has important influence on the animal kingdom, and, you know, generally on its ferocity, we might say, you know, the fact that nature is so red with blood, the different aspects of it destroying each other. You know, they live off of each other, except for the plant-eating animals that maybe are closer to the ideal. And then we have the third ray of adaptability. That's the first time the third ray has shown up, and it guides the animal through instinct, a form of intelligence of which it is not aware, but which it obeys, and which is impulsed by the Lord of a kingdom. But what do we are human beings, and we have two different rays, one of which we are supposed to develop or help the animal kingdom develop, especially the domesticated animals. And, you know, it's the fifth ray of knowledge. And when we became human, we were animal man. It was through the intervention of a kind of Syrian-Venusian line of force, which carried to us the fifth ray of the intellect and the fifth ray of self-awareness, as it shows itself in Leo, the sign of individualization. And we are able, because of our intellect, to benefit consciously from the experiences that we have, which are experiences of attraction and repulsion, of conflict and danger, and also experiences of resolution of the conflict. So the animals need this. And, well, you know, you can't go out there and give the fifth ray or encourage the fifth ray in so many species of animals. You cannot do it because they're not near enough to the possibility of the instilling of the fifth ray or any type of self-awareness in their psyche. But we have a special obligation to such animals as the elephant, the dog, the horse, the cat, and probably some of the dolphins, the sea creatures that are mammals and are extremely intelligent. We have a fifth ray obligation towards them. And right now, except in rare cases, we are not exercising that responsibility. Animals can be taught to serve, and they learn thereby. The horse draws the carriage. The cat keeps, let's say, the mice away and the possibility of disease there. The elephant has great power, and its power can be harnessed. It's the head, the sort of first ray head of the whole second ray species of domesticated animals. And, the dog has so many possibilities. It becomes, yes, a hunting dog, but it becomes a watchdog, and it begins to take on a number of almost quasi-human functions. And then who knows about what the porpoise, the dolphins, can be trained to do other than carry bombs. That's a terrible corruption. We have this responsibility to increase the intellect and to increase the self-consciousness of the domesticated members, or the higher members of the animal kingdom. And also in our environmental manipulations, we can encourage the development of many species of animals that do not have yet the capacity to develop the intellect. Intellect is developing in the foremost species of animals, and they will decay. More than drops the hint. He says, they will become individualized in this round. Not all of them, of course, but there is a handful that have gone far enough to become individualized in this round. And the whole idea of animal intelligence is really coming to the fore. So basically, the proper food of the human being is no longer the animal, regardless of why that may have taken place in terms of karmic adjustment. The proper food is the plant kingdom, the two from the four to the two. That is how we should operate, and stop killing the animals for food and instead cultivate them. I'm sure that, cows, bulls, that group, they can be cultivated too, and they are. They can become increasingly domesticated. So our responsibility is as being to being, and not a predatory kind of relationship which we show toward the animal kingdom. I mean, there are people who are, it's unspeakable, hunting for no greater privilege than to put some kind of trophy on the wall. I've seen horrible things, so have you, and that really has to end. Otherwise there will not be a peaceable kingdom. There's a problem there, it's a Martian problem, and the human and the animal kingdoms both share the animal body, of course, at different stages of refinement, and that has to be worked out between the two lords of the kingdoms, the Lord of the animal kingdom and the Lord of the human kingdom. So it's a fascinating thing, and then of course the kingdoms go on, and there's a lot to talk about here, but in general, the monad is higher than the kingdom and works through various kingdoms. And I can see the way in which the human monad works through at least 6 of these kingdoms that are here demonstrated, or here listed. Let's see if there's anything else. I said it would be short. Well, there's just a lot to read about and think about in the Tibetans and Alice Bailey's approach. And, probably many of you have pets and, cats and dogs, and maybe not pet elephants here, but maybe in other countries. We have a responsibility to lift the animals towards intelligence. That's our self-conscious awareness. That's our responsibility. So, okay, that gives kind of a overview, and there, is more to be said about all this. And maybe it's not quite our immediate focal task. It seems that the human kingdom is in such a mess, and we too, as individuals within it, that we have to somehow straighten ourselves out. And when we do, the peaceable kingdom, you're maybe familiar with that sort of American primitive painting about how the lion shall lie down with the lamb, and so forth. The so-called peaceable kingdom will arise, and sometimes you see some amazing things. You see great predators who could eliminate lesser animals with one swipe or one claw or one bite, and they befriend them. There's so many of these heartwarming cross-species friendships. So, let's just have a little bit of a meditation here, different from the vivid examples that Tuya would give you, but I'm, you know, it's my turn here at the computer, so we'll do something. And we'll, you know, first of all, align as souls, or try to realize that we are more than personalities. We are the soul. And that in the great chain of hierarchy, we always look above and help below. And this is, you know, from kingdom to kingdom. It is infallible rule of correct progress. We human beings, we are the macrocosm for what lies below us. Somehow within our vehicles are all of these factors: mineral, vegetable, even animal, our vehicle. But we do look above to the hierarchy. We are members of the human kingdom, and we look above to the kingdom of souls. And below, we look to those members of kingdoms that are up and coming. And then we realize that the members of the kingdom of souls look down upon humanity and the other kingdoms that they consider to be microcosmic to their macrocosmic duty, and they also look above to the kingdom of planetary lives. And on it goes. These planetary lives look to the members of the kingdom of solar lives, and they look below to all the 5 planes of Brahma and the different types of lives that are found within the expressing, including masters, expressing within those lower 5 kingdoms. It's a great chain of hierarchy. We're part of that chain. And if we exert our responsibility, it will always be to look above and help below, as the mantra of aspiration tells us. To look above, to help below, to dream not, nor to rest, etc. Now, we may not own animals. We may not have taken animals in our care, specific care, but we have to have the right attitude to produce the thoughts which will help people develop the right approach to lifting the 3rd kingdom, especially the higher examples, towards the 5th, and now and soon. It's always somehow heartwarming when you see an animal do something a human might do, rescue dogs. I was also reading about this rather large dog that grabbed a baby and started and essentially ran away with it. And then they discovered a hugely venomous brown snake in Australia, and basically the animal, being, well, even more than instinctually intelligent, had saved the baby from, young toddler, from almost certain death. You read all kinds of things where a kind of group consciousness, a kind of selflessness seems to be showing up in certain of the animals that have come close enough to be under the influence of the human being. So let's imagine that this fifth-ray intellect, which is so much developed in the human kingdom, of course we have to move beyond that too, but it is so much developed that, like a radiation, it goes forth to enlighten the consciousness, which is not yet self-consciousness, of the animal kingdom. Let's just imagine it as a great wave of light. I'll be specific, somehow reaching the psyches of the elephant group. Just imagine this. And ending all that mistreatment that is so often the result of humanity's selfish use of intellect. Let's imagine that wave of light reaching the canines, the dogs, who are so much on rays 2 and 6, just the way the elephants are on ray 2 and 1, and the horrible abuse. It's already now waning in China, where they're actually eating dogs. Terrible abuse, but the light reaches our canine friends. So it's not just for our pleasure that dogs exist, or it's not just the selfish use we may make of them, but they have a great opportunity to enter intelligence. And then our independent friends, the cats, maybe out in the jungle it's too much to hope for, but you see stories that lions and tigers, they don't forget, and they remember with affection the ones who have raised them. So it's like a great light from the human kingdom, enlightening even the jungle cats, and certainly these very intelligent little cats. We just, in our house, we're having to lock a lot of doors because of the third-rate capacity of one of our cats to open them and escape. So the light pours forth upon the cats. They're ruled very much by the third ray and fourth ray, and intelligence is potentially very strong in them. And there are many to which we could apply this, but let's not forget the horses who are on the sixth ray. And you know there are people with great devotion to horses. Their whole lives are consumed with horse cultivation and breeding and so forth, but it's the light that we want to shed into the horse group, wherever it may be found. As they're performing their many tasks for man, so that they can be well treated and not turned into dog food, you know. Those abuses have to end. So the light goes forth from humanity to all these variety of horses on all the subrays, wherever they may be found. And I also want to include, you know, there are others that are very intelligent and they come close to mankind, but these, I hope I'm not leaving any out, I want to include the dolphins, you know, not the fish kind, because that's much lower on the phylum ladder, but the air-breathing fish and whales, that some of whom are in close proximity to man, building relationships, having intelligence that we, when we look into it, we can hardly fathom. And, you know, let the light from humanity go forth and find the dolphins and build the right relationships with them, not based on just amusement and entertainment and even military use, but something with real respect. So all these domesticated types, or domesticatable, the light goes forth to them, the fifth ray goes forth and takes them closer and closer to individualization, even now in this fourth round, prematurely, it would seem. We can work with them, and our attitude has to be to encourage the right kind of work and to end the no longer tolerable abuses, which may have karmic links. Okay, we don't know. Tibetan says yes, there are strong karmic antecedents to man's present mistreatment of many animals, but that time is over, or well nigh over. And we make, let's make a pledge to our soul, to the members of the kingdom, and even of a higher hierarchy, that are looking below to us and above to their source of sustenance and strength, that we will take our place within the hierarchy of kingdoms and do the right thing according to the plan, so that elevation may ensue for these members of a lesser group. We have finally to learn not just to think in anthropomorphic terms, as if man was the center of everything. It's a form of kingdom egotism. We have to drop that. And whether we're taking care of a pet or several or whatever, we encourage people to think about their responsibility to the animal kingdom, and of course that extends to the vegetable and mineral kingdoms too. So we will simply sound our Om with that attitude that we're bringing the light, as we can do, just the way the members of the fifth kingdom bring the love. And notice there's a double fifth ray there. We have it, and the kingdom of souls have it too. A higher form, lower mind, higher mind, but love, wisdom, which we human beings, microcosmically, need so much. We can bring a ray quality to our animal friends, the ray of concrete knowledge, and of course the devotion factor that comes to us because we are essentially lords of ceaseless and persevering devotion. As monads we are that. We can also bring that to the domesticatable animals, and even some that are transitional and you wouldn't think that they could be devoted, but they can be. Let us sound the Om then with those thoughts in mind. Our responsibility, especially right now, to the animal kingdom. friends, just a little meditation and so forth to put all this in context. And tonight we'll work on our normal triangles meditation, so close to Master DK's heart, as he says. That's an occult hint, of course. And then tomorrow morning we'll have a Zoom meeting on identification as being, which gets to the fundamental of everything. So I want to thank you, and Tuya wants to thank you for being here with us today. And we look forward to, continuing our work with you. So that we can understand esotericism in a large-minded way and constantly grow in our consciousness towards that kingdom which is helping us, towards the kingdom of souls, and even eventually as we move higher in the upon the evolutionary ladder, toward the kingdom of planetary lives. I think we can say the monads are members there, but there are other planetary lives as well, globe lords and chain lords and so forth, and they begin to enter, of course, the kingdom of solar lives, about which such great entities as the Christ and the Buddha are learning. We might say that Sanat Kumara is a member of that highest kingdom, the kingdom of solar lives. So we'll have this up for you fairly shortly, and if you find you cannot be at some of these presentations, but you can later, then review them later and let your friends know that they can explore with us if they would like to receive notification from the Moria Federation, University of Seven Rays, Seven Ray Institute, and the Blue Rose Sisterhood and the Northern Lights Society. We have a lot of groups, and we can reach each other and others in that way. So, thank you for your being here. And you'll hear from me tonight with triangles at 6 p.m. GMT. And bye for now.